If you have absolutely no clue what to do after college, stay with me. Hi, and welcome to the Uncon School at howtobecomeaprofessor.com, the place to learn from proven professors and experts. If you're one of those people who show interests and talents in many different areas, and as a consequence, you do not have no clue whatsoever what to do or how to choose your profession and career path that just feels right, welcome to the show. For this episode, I've invited a very special guest. Her name is Jenny Blake. Jenny is an author, blogger, life coach, and speaker. She has been featured on Forbes.com, US News and World Report, CNN.com, and is nationally recognized as a leader among Generation Y. Jenny took her own great leap by leaving Google to move to New York City and pursue her passions full-time. She's focused on helping others wake up, live big, and love the journey through coaching, speaking, and her latest project, Make Shit Happen, an 8-week course that takes people's big giant goals from improbable idea to inevitable success snowball. During her time at Google, Jenny worked for over 5 years in training, coaching, and career development and authors at Google. Her most recent role was a career development program manager, where she focused on building scalable solutions to help Googlers focus on their personal growth and career development. The experience of leaving school before her friends inspired her to start a blog, lifeaftercollege.org, which she has now translated into a book, Life After College, the complete guide to getting what you want. Prior to Google and halfway through her junior year at UCLA, Jenny took a leave of absence to help launch a political polling startup company, Polymetrics, later acquired and renamed YouGov America with her college professor and mentor. She returned to finish at UCLA in the spring of 2005. All right, Jenny, thank you so much for letting us pick your precious brain. Obviously, you have a lot on your plate. And first and utmost, thank you so much for being here with us.
Sure thing. Thank you for having me.
All right. So the very first question I'd like to ask you is, why do you think do so many college graduates, but not this phenomenon, this problem is not only restricted to college graduates, but so many people in general have such a hard time in picking a life career that feels right for them? Why is this decision so hard for many people?
Yeah, we're operating, there's a big shift happening. And part of that has been ushered in by the internet. And the internet's been around a little while now, but it's taking a little bit for career and our career models to catch up. And what I'm noticing is that because people are so interconnected, they now have access to people all over the world doing all kinds of crazy things. And there are so many careers that exist now that people have even created for themselves that simply did not exist 5 and 10 years ago. Social media manager is a good example. That's a great entry-level job that did not exist, even 5 years ago. Maybe it was just starting. And so along with all that, sometimes people can become paralyzed by choice, and they realize, oh, wow, I really can do anything. I don't need to just follow the ladder model, that linear career process where I find a job and stay there for 30 years. People are seeing that the economy isn't always stable. Many grads now are coming into a very uncertain economy. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but it has shaken up the foundation that, oh yeah, you just get a job and stay there. And my advice to this, if anyone does feel overwhelmed by choice, that's okay. You don't need to land on the career path right now, overnight, the minute you graduate. And in fact, even people who think they found it evolve and change over the years. And so we're constantly reinventing ourselves at every stage of our careers.
Right. Okay. So you mentioned that the availability of different choices is kind of paralyzing, right? And but my question is there kind of a blueprint for that process? I mean, what can young people possibly do to make the right choices for themselves? Is there a general blueprint for that very individual process?
The blueprint is really within each individual, and not to sound cliche, but this is a process that only you can follow, and you need to really learn to tune in and listen to your gut. One of my favorite coaches and speakers, her name's Martha Beck, And she uses a framework called shackles on, shackles off. What in your life, people, things, or activities feel shackles on, like they're weighing you down, that just drains your energy? And what feels shackles off, freeing, exciting, exhilarating, like your zone of genius? So for someone who is really feeling confused, just totally has no clue, start by being an observer over your next few weeks. What feels good and what brings you down? What drags your energy down? And the mistake I think people often make is they have an expectation on themselves to go from confusion to certainty overnight, as though that happens in one step or one epiphany moment. And instead, I really encourage people, the blueprint happens because you allow yourself to get creative and to brainstorm and talk and explore and meet with people, Stephen, just like you're doing, bringing interesting people to your community. Things like that are really helpful because people can start to tune in to what really resonates and follow those little trails, even if you don't know exactly where it will lead yet.
All right. I mean, when you're reading or listening to people, or when you're listening to successful people, they always say the same thing: follow your passion, right? Follow your passion, and then maybe and probably ultimately the money will come later. But what do you say to a college graduate, right, who has stats, who took up a loan for his college education? I mean, that kind of statement or suggestion, recommendation, follow your passion, and ultimately the money will follow. This is not something practical in that particular situation. So what can that kind of person, that student who has a lot of debt and has a lot of financial pressure on his shoulders actually do?
Yeah. Cal Newport just came out with a great book on why follow your passion is misguided advice. And I tend to agree. I actually agree that, follow your passion is not enough. And for a new grad or one that has a lot of debt and has bills to pay, it's not enough. And the question I like to ask is, what are your marketable skills? What are you good at and talented at that people will pay you for? And if you don't have a marketable skill, then you gotta earn one. You gotta go learn and take classes. And, I did coach training school and I practiced and sort of built my own coaching skill set up on the side. And then it actually served me very well at Google. I got a job on the career development team because I had done coach training on nights and weekends. So that was an example of something that I pursued on my own to increase my value to either the company or to my own business. And it served me very well in both. So for a new grad, passion is great. And because passion can point to marketable skills, but it really needs to be matched by a strategy that says, I see a need, I see something that people will pay me for, I'm gonna really work to develop in that area. And then that's really where you start to have things sing, where something you're naturally good at is also a need in the market, and then those two can come together. And that's where passion pays, but not just like, yay, I love bike riding, maybe I can get paid for that. No, it doesn't work like that.
Right, okay, understood. And what kind of suggestion would you give or provide to people who, let's assume, people have, in most cases, more than one or two or three passions and talents, and let's break it down. Let's limit it to two passions, right, or two areas of interests. How can they decide? And let's assume also that both areas are more or less, in terms of marketability or potential success rate, more or less the same.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
At a certain point, you just have to experiment. You will not know until you try. When I was looking to make extra income on the side, I did what I call Craigslist as an extra income dartboard. And I put up 3 postings. One was for personal organization. I would come to your house and get you organized. Another was for HTML and CSS and Dreamweaver tutoring for small business owners. And then a third was babysitting. So I put up these 3 ads, and like you said, they all kind of I didn't know what the opportunity was.
Right.
And lo and behold, the HTML is the one that really caught on. That's what people started to hire me for. And so, okay, I went with that. And it wasn't going to be a lasting career, but that experiment showed me the power of sometimes you need to put a few things out there and see what sticks. But if it's a case where you kind of have to decide, let's say you're going to take one job or another, at some point, you just gotta pick and as you go. So if when you're in it, it's growing on you, that's a positive thing and you're learning, great. And if not, then maybe it means, okay, at a certain point, it's time to shift and try that other direction.
Okay.
And I guess the other thing I would say is, if you have two things that feel different,
right,
try and take it up a level. What is the umbrella? What do these two things have in common? Even if they seem so different, ask yourself, what are the unifying qualities or aspects? Because you may then discover a third area that's actually more valuable and more unique because you have these two separate seeming talents or skills that can come together in a really special way.
Okay, that's very helpful advice. Actually, one of the goals of the Uncon School is bringing the academic world with the entrepreneurial world together, right? And that's kind of the I would say the USP that I'm trying to build, in order to build a community, right? And what I'm also interested in is that you are also very successful inside I would call it the academic niche, right? So coming from academia and also serving predominantly an academic target group, so to speak. And have you noticed certain differences? I mean, is the academic and higher education target group audience different than the overall audience? Have you noticed some differences?
It's funny. I'm so glad that you're doing this work to bring the two together, because in the media today, we see academia getting such a bad rap, and it almost seems like entrepreneurs and academia are on opposing sides, and entrepreneurs are saying, you don't even need college anymore, and everyone's fed up because they're in debt, and academia has not prepared them for their career. I would first argue that academia, college, undergraduate when has it ever provided like actual on-the-job skills or financial planning? I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but I'm saying it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that you go to college and you still need to have had internships in order to develop the skills for an entry-level job or entrepreneurial skills. I mean, that's on you. No one's going to spoon feed you what you need. The university can't read your mind of like how to leverage your best talents. And so again, I just think there's a certain level of setting expectations. And then what I really appreciate about academia is this idea of research and data and examination. And I think that in fact, entrepreneurs often have that in common, probably in a more agile fashion. But what has helped me be successful in my own business is to look at data, to do experiments, to try and unify gut instinct with actual testing and feedback. And so just the same way someone in academia might run a study, you could do that in your own business. And you can do that even if it's a side hustle for someone who's watching if they have a full-time job. Do what I did with the Craigslist extra income dartboard. At some point you got to get your hands dirty and so I think it's kind of marrying the two. It's data, but don't fall into analysis by paralysis.
Right.
Be agile about it.
Okay, got it. I mean, you are well aware of the big trend of online video education and free online video education from the best top-tier institutions in the world, such as Coursera or TED or edX and so forth, Udacity. So I'm really wondering, now we have become able to choose our individual curriculum, right? And to build in a very strategic manner what kind of skills, academic-related skills we would like to acquire. Yeah. So my question is really, is the college, tuition fee is it nowadays justifiable to pay such a huge amount of money in order to receive this kind of certification, but in terms of qualification, you can get maybe the same amount of education absolutely for free?
Right. It's a big, huge, important question. And I think anyone going to college now should be very conscious about their choice. Don't go just because you should do it. If that's the only reason you're going, take a second look and maybe even do a gap year until you have a better sense. It really depends. What are your goals? If your sole goal of university is to get on the job skills and training, it might not be worth it. However, for me, I went to college partly for the experience, to live away from home, to live in Los Angeles, to make friends, to go to football games. I just, there was so much I loved about school. I don't know. And thankfully I went to UCLA. I got in-state tuition. So it was very different than graduating from a very expensive Ivy League, for example. So in that way, that trade-off was worth it to me. And I did have some debt, but it's paid off now. So you really have to think, what are my goals? And is college going to help me meet those goals, whether it's a life and social kind of type goal or skills? And you're absolutely right that we have so much information available to us. There's really no excuse anymore. I mean, I know I sound kind of like a hard ass, but there's no excuse to want a skill and not develop it. And right. I remember reading HTML and CSS books on the treadmill at the gym or on the elliptical. Treadmill's too hard to read. But on the elliptical, I'd be reading about CSS and then I would go home and practice. This was, after work. And that's how I taught myself. And that was long before you have all the tools that you mentioned, all these video education programs. Right. And now Skillshare has really cheap courses on highly technical things. So yeah, at this point, like the skills you want, you got to go after it and really make your own plan.
Okay, awesome. Lastly, I'd like to talk a little bit more about your entrepreneurial journey, right? I mean, you set up this very awesome and unique and very, likable blog, right? lifeaftercollege.org. It has a very nice vibe. And when you're looking through, then instantly you enjoy surfing, you enjoy digging your website. That's how I felt. And but how did you come to the vision? Was there an epiphany moment? All right, I gotta set this up. I gotta help college graduates and lead them through choosing the right career or making the big choices or developing the big picture for their lives. And how did you know that you were the right person to do that, right? It's a kind of a bold statement to say, okay, I can help you like a guru, so to speak. What is the right path for you?
Right. Oh, these are such good questions. And thank you for the kind words. That really means a lot. The big secret I did share this on my blog a little while back, that there was the altruistic goal, which was like, I'm lost and confused and I feel all alone. I was the first employee at that startup and there were no one my age working there. So the side, I felt like, you know what? I did have those doubts. I'm not an expert. Who am I to put this stuff out there? But I just thought I'll be the traffic director. I'll take what I learn, I'll synthesize it. I love reading books and I will provide shortcuts. So I will be more of a guide and a curator. I don't need to be the expert, but I was really nervous. Like, who am I to even be the curator for this group? But I felt like, all right, I'm gonna do the best I can and I'm gonna enjoy the process. So if people don't like it, that's okay. I love writing and it will be good practice for me to get back into it. But then the not so altruistic goal, you're gonna laugh when you hear this, given our conversation, I thought, I might want to go to business school. So I should probably start something and look like I'm a founder of something. And so I thought, what could I start? What would provide value that I could work on? And that's when Life After College came to me. I was sitting at the ballet and I was a little bored. Normally I love the ballet, but anyway, so this Life After College idea. And the hilarious thing is that because the blog grew, it totally surpassed the need to go to business school. I realized, why on earth would I pay for business school when all I would want is to graduate and become an author and a speaker and run my own business? I realized that what had actually happened was that this means to an end became the end itself. And that's when the book came out. And, I was working at Google for 5.5 years and I decided, okay, it's time to jump. I had no clue if I would be successful or not, but I realized that truly the best business school is to just try it. And the startup was a good business school in itself. Google for 5.5 years, my gosh, the best business education you can ask for. And then my own company. And so for those of you considering business school, I would even ask again, like, can you invest that $100,000 in yourself and in your own business? And like, what would that do if you could just experiment even on your own?
Right, I think that's tremendous advice. It's a really tremendous perspective, right? What about investing $100,000 on yourself, on your own business? Yeah, Awesome,
I
awesome.
mean, you can plan your life for a year, right? Like, I mean, for some people, 2 years, depending where you're living. And in that 2 years, why not try and earn some money? You know, it's like you didn't earn a penny. In a way, there's nothing lost. But I would imagine that most of you watching this are very smart and resourceful. And within a couple months, I could really get something off the ground. Though I will say that again, it comes back to having marketable skills possibly before you make that big leap.
All right, awesome. Okay, thank you so much. Lastly, I'd like to ask you what kind of content at lifeaftercollege.org are people to see, to consume, to benefit from, and currently, and what is your future vision of lifeaftercollege.org?
Well, this is a really exciting time because I have had Life After College now for over 7 years. And I'm right in the process of launching jennyblake.me, which is my new direction. And so both sites, Life After College, will stay up and running and be for really focused on career and life as a 20-something and relationships and money, same things it is now, health. And then jennyblake.me is where I'm going to expand a little bit and talk about how to move beyond burnout and thrive at the intersection of mind, body, and business.
Okay.
And so this is where I'm going to talk about solopreneurship and mindset and creativity and travel and even yoga, you know, a lot of the things that I've become passionate about in my own life after college.
Right.
That's where that stuff is going to live.
Okay, awesome. Sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for letting us pick your brain. It was really inspiring and actionable at the same time. And well, if you guys liked that episode as much as I did, please don't forget to check out lifeaftercollege.org to check out everything that Jenny has to offer, and also make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and visit us at howtobecomeaprofessor.com if you want to learn more substantial skills from proven professors and experts.